I want you to picture a map of the Middle East right now.
Okay.
Usually, when we track military movements in that part of the world, it follows a rhythm, it's a rotation.
Right. One group leaves, another arrives.
Exactly. A carrier group heads home to Norfolk, another one steams in to replace it, a squadron of F-15s leaves, a fresh one arrives. It's just maintenance, business as usual.
Yeah.
But what we are looking at right now, and this is based on a recent Wall Street Journal report and verified flight tracking data from this month, February 2026, it completely breaks that rhythm.
It absolutely does.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not a rotation anymore. It's an accumulation.
An accumulation.
And that distinction is, it's everything.
We are literally talking about the United States moving the largest concentration of air power into the region since the 2003 invasion of Iraq.
Yeah, it's massive.
And that is exactly what we're doing a deep dive on today. Our mission here is to look past the standard headlines of, troops moving or tensions rising, and really understand the specific capabilities being deployed here.
Because the specific hardware tells a story.
Right. And we also need to understand the diplomatic stalemate that's triggering this and what this signals about the potential for a new conflict with Iran, because it feels like a really high-stakes poker game right now.
It does. But with a caveat.
What's that?
In poker, you hide your hand. What we're seeing here, parking F-22s and aircraft carriers in plain sight, it's the exact opposite. It's showing the gun on your hip to try and stop the fight before it starts.
Or end it really fast if it does start.
Exactly.
So let's start with the metal on the tarmac. Because I think for most of you listening, a fighter jet is a fighter jet. You see a gray plane on the news, you think air power.
Sure, it all looks the same to a lot of people.
But this report highlights a really specific mix of aircraft arriving at Muwafaq Salti Air Base in Jordan and Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
We aren't just seeing generic patrols. We've got the heavy hitters, the F-35s, the F-15Es, F-16s, and the F-22 Raptors.
The manifest is fascinating. It's basically a complete ecosystem.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the F-22s, which is key.
Yeah, because we don't export the Raptor. It's our premier air-to-air dominance fighter.
Right, but you have to ask yourself why you deploy the Raptor.
Okay.
You don't use an F-22 to bomb a convoy of trucks. It's way too expensive.
Yeah.
And that's just not its job.
Right.
You use an F-22 to kill other advanced fighters and to clear the skies of high-end air defenses. Its presence essentially implies you expect the enemy to put up a real fight in the air.
So they're the door kickers.
Exactly. And then you have the F-15Es, the mud hens.
The bomb trucks.
Right. They carry a massive amount of ordnance.
Yeah.
And the F-16s are your multi-role workhorses.
So the F-22s and F-35s kick the door down, and the F-15s come in and level the building.
Roughly, yes. But here is where this deep dive really gets into the weeds.
Huh.
If you just count the fighter jets, you actually miss the most alarming part of this deployment.
The nervous system.
Yes. The support aircraft. Specifically, they've deployed E-3 airborne early warning and control systems and the E-11 airborne battlefield communications node.
Which, I have to say, sounds incredibly bureaucratic. A communications node, it sounds like a flying IT department.
It basically is, but it's a vital one. See, modern air warfare has a massive language barrier problem.
How so?
Well, the F-22 and the F-35, right? They are stealth aircraft. To stay stealthy, they can't just blast out omnidirectional radio signals because that instantly lights them up on enemy radar.
Oh, that makes sense. They'd give away their position.
Exactly. So they use very specific, narrow beam data links to talk to each other. The problem is, an F-22's data link doesn't naturally talk to an F-16 or a naval destroyer. They're on completely different networks.
So you have the most advanced jets in the world seeing everything, but they're essentially in a private group chat that the rest of the military can't read.
That is a perfect way to put it, and that's where the E-11 comes in. It flies at high altitude and acts as a universal translator. It takes the data from the F-35 and translates it instantly for the older F-15s, the ships at sea, and the commanders on the ground.
So it connects the whole web.
Right. And here is the kicker. You do not deploy E-11s or E-3s for a simple punitive strike. You don't need that level of manager plane to just hit a couple of warehouses.
You bring them in when you're preparing for a massive coordinated campaign?
Yes. You bring them in when you expect jamming, complex missile threats, and you need hundreds of different assets to move as a single organism. It's the nervous system for a full-scale air war.
Wow, that really puts a different spin on it. It's not just a show of force, it's literally the architecture for a war.
It is.
And speaking of architecture, we have to look at the water, too,
Yeah.
because the air bases are crowded, but the naval convergence in the region is just as intense.
Arguably even more significant.
Yeah. The report notes the U.S. Navy already has 13 warships in the area, including the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group, and specifically 9 destroyers.
Which is high for a standard patrol.
Very high.
But it's deliberate. Those are destroyers equipped specifically for ballistic missile defense, BMD.
Because Iran has a massive missile arsenal.
Right. Their air force is aging, but their ballistic and cruise missiles are world-class. Thousands of them. So those destroyers are the goalie.
They're the shield.
Exactly. If a conflict kicks off, those destroyers have to intercept incoming barrages to protect the carriers and the land bases.
But the offensive capability at sea is also getting a huge upgrade. The USS Gerald R. Ford just left the Caribbean and is steaming toward the region to join the Lincoln.
Putting 2 full carrier strike groups in the region simultaneously.
And the Ford isn't just another carrier, it's the newest, largest class in the world.
Right, and it uses electromagnetic catapults instead of the old steam ones. Practically speaking, that means the Ford can launch planes faster and with less wear and tear.
So a higher sortie rate?
A significantly higher sortie rate. 2 carriers mean 24/7 coverage. 1 carrier conducts strikes while the other recovers and refuels. It's constant pressure, no downtime for the enemy.
So I want to zoom out a bit here and look at the timeline to really contextualize the scale of this for you all listening. The source material brings up Operation Midnight Hammer from last June.
Yes, the B-2 bomber strike.
Right. For anyone who needs a refresher, Midnight Hammer was when the U.S. used B-2s to hit Iranian nuclear centrifuge facilities. It was massive news. But how is this current buildup different from that? Why isn't this just Midnight Hammer 2.0?
Because Midnight Hammer was a raid. That's the key distinction.
Right.
In a raid, you use long-range assets, you enter the airspace, hit a specific target, and leave. It's just a pulse of violence. You don't need to control the airspace for weeks.
Get in, break the stuff, get out.
Precisely. But what we are seeing now, in February 2026, is a siege setup. You don't move F-15Es and E-11s into Jordan if you're just visiting. You move them there if you plan to loiter.
The report actually explicitly says this deployment allows for a sustained campaign.
Right. It looks like an attempt to achieve total air supremacy.
But, and I think we need a reality check here. Is it an invasion force?
That's a great point. I need to be the wet blanket for a second. The headlines say massive buildup, and that's true compared to last year. But look at the historical numbers.
The report mentions the 2003 invasion of Iraq involved over 860 U.S. Air Force aircraft.
Right. And the 1991 Gulf War. That had 6 aircraft carriers and 1,300 coalition aircraft.
Oh.
Right now, we're looking at 2 carriers and maybe a couple hundred highly advanced aircraft. It is a formidable force, yes.
But it's a fraction of a ground invasion force.
Exactly. We aren't seeing the hospital ships, the massive logistics tail, the airlift for 150,000 ground troops.
So nobody's driving a tank to Tehran.
Not with this force structure. This is precision air power. It's a punishment force, designed to wreck infrastructure, command centers, and nuclear sites from the air, not occupy the ground.
Which leads us to the biggest question, why now? What is the trigger for this sudden rush of hardware? And the report points directly to the ongoing diplomatic stalemate in Geneva over Tehran's nuclear program.
Yes, that is the friction point.
Because the disconnect coming out of Geneva is just wild. You have the Iranian foreign minister, Abbas Araqi, claiming there's good progress being made.
Right.
But then U.S. officials are flat out stating the talks have yielded little progress. It's like they're in 2 completely different meetings.
They practically are.
Yeah.
Good progress in diplomacy often just means we haven't stormed out of the room yet.
Right. And then you add President Trump's recent comments into the mix.
Oh, absolutely. That gets right through the diplomatic speak.
He posted on Truth Social that if diplomacy fails, we will simply have to see the outcome. And then he told reporters, I don't think they want the consequences of not reaching an agreement.
And when you pair the phrase, see the outcome, with 2 aircraft carriers and stealth fighters landing in the desert.
It's not subtle.
No, it's the textbook definition of coercive diplomacy. You park 2 carriers off the coast while sitting at the negotiating table. The goal isn't necessarily to start a war. It's to force a diplomatic breakthrough through sheer intimidation.
Sign the paper or look out the window. But we have to look at the warning signs that this might be going off the rails. Because while the diplomats are arguing, third-party nations are reacting. And that's often a much truer signal of danger than any official press release.
The canary in the coal mine.
Right. The report notes that Poland has urged its citizens to leave Iran immediately.
Which is huge.
Yeah, and Israeli officials have reportedly warned of a potential conflict within days.
Within days is highly specific tactical intelligence.
It's intense cognitive dissonance. On one hand, you have Iraqis saying good progress, and on the other hand, neighboring countries are telling people to literally flee immediately.
Someone is misreading the room.
Right.
Yeah.
Which brings us to a wrap-up of what we've covered. We have the hardware, the stealth fighters, and the manager planes setting up a nervous system. We have the naval backup with 2 massive carrier strike groups. And we have a diplomatic deadlock with totally mixed messages.
The U.S. is signaling absolute readiness for a sustained air campaign. But, like we said, the ultimate goal is likely intimidation.
But intimidation is a dangerous game. Which leaves us with a final, somewhat provocative thought for you to chew on.
Yeah.
If the Iranian foreign minister genuinely believes good progress is being made, while the U.S. is deploying the literal architecture for an air war, and Poland is evacuating its citizens, who is actually misreading the room here?
Right. Is the optimism in Geneva just a stall tactic?
Or is the military buildup a bluff that's about to be called by a country that feels backed into a corner?
It's a terrifying question. If they feel cornered, their rational move might be to strike first before all that hardware is fully integrated.
We'll have to keep tracking the flight data to see who blinks first.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Catch you next time.